What I do, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, really. I went to school, I didn't graduate from college, but I took anatomy, biomechanics, physiology. I've always been able to imagine things and kind of create them. I make these little cardboard models, everybody calls it ROICAD, where it's just, I figure out the travel versus weight stack travel, and I just make these little cardboard things. And I understand training, I understand sport. I grew up in a little town in Minnesota, and it was just playing. Falls, you were playing football. Winter, you played hockey. Spring, you ran track, played baseball. When I was 15, 14, something like that, you could buy a 110-pound weight set for $19.95. I started playing around with it a little bit, and I was just, terribly weak. No real strength at all as a 14-year-old, but I kind of got hooked, and I used it primarily because I was real serious about playing hockey, and I immediately caught the bug, just right away. And then I just started making some stuff because, there wasn't really much available, so I just made some wooden benches out of 2x4s and plywood and that kind of stuff, and I was one of the kids that was always making stuff all the time. It was just something I was meant to do, and I enjoyed doing it. There was just a creative aspect that provided a tangible product at the end of it, and I just enjoyed doing it. I was a hockey player, and I was a goalie, and I starting in 8th grade. I needed a face mask, and I started making them for myself, and by the time I was a senior in high school, I was making them for the high schools and colleges, and by 18, I was even making them for the pros, and I realized that, I could have a career or make money just making stuff on my own. I pretty soon started making stuff for the Minnesota Vikings. Started building bicycles, started racing bicycles, made bikes for the French Olympics team. My brother was his college was gonna outfit their weight room with equipment. My brother asked the coach if they'd be interested in having me make some stuff, and they just didn't know any better, and they said, yeah, why not? So I think I made them about 10 pieces of free weight equipment. Well, all of a sudden we started seeing all this new equipment out called Nautilus. As soon as we started seeing the Nautilus pieces, I knew that there was something there that was gonna be a big thing in the future. My brother and I were watching the Super Bowl, and he was about to graduate from college, and I was just making stuff, and we had the conversation about what we both wanted to do. We thought we would just start a business together. And one option was a tree trimming service, but in Minnesota, that's about a 6-month-a-year proposition. And so we said, let's just start a weightlifting equipment company. And it was really that simple. We borrowed $1,000, and with that money, we bought some steel and a welder. We just started. We just figured, why not? We can do this. We had 7 or 8 or 9 different weight stack pieces. And with the success of Nautilus, there's a company called Cybex. And Cybex at the time, they made a couple different types of ergometers and isokinetic testing devices. And they were seeing a lot of these Nautilus machines being sold in physical therapy clinics where their equipment was sold. And they thought, well, let's look around and see if there's a small company that we might be able to buy, and they contacted us, and we struck a deal real quick. At the time, Nautilus was everything. There was nobody that was even second place, and everybody wanted to be the next Nautilus, and consequently, everybody was kind of copying Nautilus. But I knew that there was some things that could be improved upon. For example, the Nautilus machines are really designed for large male strength athletes. And that leaves about 90+% of the population is not really a target customer. The machines that we made, they fit people from about 4'10" to 6'6". That was kind of our standard. We made all the machines where the weight stack was accessible. You didn't have to get off the machines and change the weight stacks. They were just a lot more approachable for everyday users. By the late 80s, early 90s, there was actually a larger installed base of Eagle product than in Cybex in the entire United States. And it changed rapidly from being everybody was copying Nautilus to everybody started copying the Cybex Eagle machines. I asked, what do you want me to do next? And they said, nothing, we're happy with what we got. And I said, well, I need to do something. They said, well, you can be the welding foreman. I said, well, I don't want to do that, I'm not qualified. I just left, I had a 5-year non-compete, and so I just moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and lived the life of a guy up in the mountains and skiing and hanging out and riding my bike, and I had a 5-year nice little gig. When my non-compete ran out, I called Cybex. I said, I've got more ideas. Would you be interested? And they said, no, we're happy with what we got. And I said, well, I might talk to some competitors. And they said, well, that's okay. Joined up a company in Davis, California called Loredan. They were interested in a line of equipment as well. So I came up with a line there called Lido. That company was funded by venture capital people. And they thought that it was the right time to take the company public. Less than a year later, maybe 8 months later, we're out of business. I called up Cybex one more time in in '92, and they had a change of management. And I said, well, tell you what, I'll work for next to nothing. Let me just prove myself. And I came on board and I developed 2 consumer products that were very successful. And the new CEO, terrific guy, absolutely great guy named Ray Elliott. I said I would, the original Eagle line now is more than a dozen years old and still selling well, but it's time for an upgrade. And he said, just go for it. He kind of let me loose. Within about a 2-year time period, we did the Cybex VR2 line, which was a weight stack line. That was about 18 pieces. People ask me, what am I most proud of? And I guess one of them is that a lot of people got benefit from using all those machines. They feel better, they perform better, they feel good about themselves, maybe they got a little stronger, lost a couple of pounds. So hugely successful, really, really successful. By 96, 97, we were really killing it. Phenomenal team. That was just the best time. We'd go to trade shows and it was just so much fun. Unfortunately, we were a bit of a victim of our own success. The Cybex medical division was not strong and the fitness division was. So the board of directors decided to sell off the fitness division. Well, we were acquired by a company called Trotter. They were a smaller, mostly a cardio treadmill company, but they got 50.001% of controlling interest. And within a couple months, myself and most of the sales organization and the management, we were all gone. When I left, I had an 18-month non-compete. So I was left again unemployed and thinking about what's next. This was kind of the beginning of what functional training, I don't really like the term, but came about. People were doing a lot of different things, bands, tubing, body weight training. And the thought process was everyday life is 3-dimensional. You're not moving in a fixed movement pattern. Real life is up, down, left, right, twisting, turning, and everything. And traditional strength training machines you are highly stabilized. You are, locked into a position. And those 3 things were great for hypertrophy, but they don't really prepare you very well for real life activity. I started snowboarding, and because that's a rotational movement and you're constantly having to correct and all your stabilizing muscles are constantly fired, I was just a wreck. I was just torn to pieces. And I realized that my training in the gym wasn't preparing me for things other than training in the gym. So I thought, how can we address that? And the solution was with the cables, where the user dictates the movement, and you can do it seated, standing, on a chest. You push in whatever movement pattern you choose, and you have to provide all the stabilization yourself. I just thought there's another opportunity to create something new and different. And so with Free Motion, we created a line of cable-based machines. So we were really selling a training philosophy, and the equipment supported that training philosophy. We were selling product and we were doing fine, but to really grow it, we needed a business partner. And at that time, Icon purchased us. About 2 years later, I left. Icon had kind of a different business model than I was interested in pursuing. And I really thought we needed to kind of stay true to who we were, unique, innovative, strength products and so on. And we just decided to part ways. You can't satisfy everybody. One car doesn't satisfy all drivers. You need specific products for different applications. And I thought it was really critical to always try and move the ball forward. I think anybody that is creative always thinks that their best work is still ahead of them. And you're happy with what you've done, but as soon as you're done, you think, well, I could do this a little better. Or, I think whether you're a musician or an artist or anybody that has some creative bend to them, you always want to keep, searching and doing more and improving. And I think the fitness industry did a lot of that in strength till about the early 2000s, and I think the strength component to innovation has all but disappeared, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. I've been aware of Skelcore for a couple of years, but just kind of at arm's length, and we connected a couple months ago, and it just went very quickly, and I realized that these were people that felt about fitness and strength training like I do. They're just very passionate, committed, want to do something that hasn't been done before, and are willing to take a chance and take a shot. I only want to work with people, and this is very selfish and it sounds probably very egotistical, but I only want to work with people that are passionate about what they're doing. I just can't imagine going to work every day just to go to work. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. I've always just been passionate about making stuff, and I've always felt like there's something that I could do in the fitness industry regardless, so I just never stopped. And a goal is, whether it's a HFA, URSA, FIBO, whatever, I want to be affiliated with a company that when the doors open up, everybody wants to come to your booth first. And they want to see what is the latest, coolest, new stuff. Maybe they're not even in the market for some latest, cool, new stuff, but they trust the organization. They respect that you're going to give them honest feedback. You can have a relationship with these people. And Mark Ackerman and the family, Tana and Connor, we just all had kind of a like mind. And they're striving for excellence, and that means more than just selling a lot of stuff. It's, they want to have a best sales organization. They want to have the best marketing. They want to have the best product. They want to have the things that can move this industry forward. Specifically in the strength market, you ask anybody that attends the trade shows for the last 20 years, and I would think every one of them would say that an hour after the show is open, you've walked down many of the aisles and you look and say to one another, what have you seen new that really excites you? And there's not really been much. There really hasn't. And so I think there's an opportunity. We're just kind of rehashing what we've done in the past and kind of repackaging it. But I just really don't see anything really new or clever or innovative. And I think that's where the opportunity lies.
Do you think that's what you guys are going to be able to achieve?
I may be delusional, but I'm quite certain we're going to do that. Yeah, I really believe that. Some of the best products are the simplest ones, the ones where you look at it and say, why didn't someone think of that before? Well, someone has to be first. The best ones are ones where you don't need a half hour to explain it. You get someone on a machine, a piece of equipment, and they do 1 or 2 repetitions, they get a smile on their face, and after 10 they say, this is awesome, why hasn't someone done this before? To me, those are the big successes, and I just haven't seen much of that in recent years. And with Mark's business experience and with some of the pieces that he's putting together, I think we can really accomplish something great. I think our focus is the 95% of people that work out. We're really concentrating on that vast majority of the people, whether it's corporate fitness or wellness or, some of the larger club chains or whatever, but it's stuff that can be used kind of by everybody and not excluding anybody. When we were making the Cybex stuff, for example, there was 60, 70, 80-year-olds using it, young people using it, athletes using it, everybody was using it. And there's no reason that shouldn't exist today. And so we want to build quality stuff kind of for everybody. There's never been a better opportunity for creating some new products and being a kind of a leader in strength than now. I don't really see anybody as being kind of the go-to guys. I don't see anybody that when those doors at the trade shows are opening, that their booth gets flooded with people and there's new products. Maybe they got a new this or a new that, or they tweak the tweaks, but there's really nothing new. The opportunity is phenomenal right now. I just think Mark, his team, the organization that he's putting together, I think we're poised to do something really special.